from our standpoint, obviously, I haven't talked to you since Monty came back, but very excited with Monty's decision, helped him through that process. I thought of all the guys since I've been here as a head coach, he really took the whole process through, had conversations going back to the beginning of the fall, after the regular season, before the bowl game, and then he actually shared with me some thoughts. A couple days prior to the game, I said, just let's keep it to ourselves and see where we're at. And one of the neat things he did, I couldn't believe he was able to stay quiet as much as he did, but after the game, it was a very emotional locker room. One of the first people to speak was Monty. He stood up and told everybody why he was coming back to the University of Wisconsin, and kind of changed the mood of that locker room right there. So a huge step forward for that kid in leadership and everything that he's involved. And then a couple injury updates. Mike Taylor has had a surgery. Won't have him for spring football, but everything was pretty positive there. He had surgery on a hip that he played with all year, and very excited about the procedure. And he'll be with us full go in the fall. And then Ethan Armstrong has had a couple surgeries now. He had a surgery on both of his hips as well. So he won't be with us in the spring, but excited about his recovery. John Budmeyer, talked to him just the other day. He actually has been on a nice healing pattern. He's been throwing the football back there at home, has begun that road to recovery. He thought, when he talked to me, he thought he's about a 90% throwing capacity. And Kurt Phillips is back home. Kurt's continued to recover. I know he's very positive about his health as well. So with that, here in a couple minutes, I've known these two guys that I brought aboard for a number of years. First with Matt Canada. Matt and I have known each other a while. I think the part that excites me about him is everywhere he's gone, he's been able to win or put huge numbers up offensively, no matter what the situation was. I thought his quarterbacks always played well. I'm excited to get him in here to our mix and to lead our offense. And kind of a unique situation to bring in Zach ahead of the coordinator, but Zach and I have known each other a long time on the recruiting trails. Really had a huge impression when we played Bowling Green here back one of my first years, and his wide receivers were getting after us pretty good and playing the game the way I like to see it played. So was able to bring him aboard, and excited about the opportunity to bring two others on the offense side of the football, actually an offensive line and a tight end coach. Probably move forward with an O-line coach here within the next several days. Tight end coach would probably, unless I decide to change my path, we'll wait till after the recruiting season is done, as well as the linebacker situation on defense. So with that, open up for questions. Or is that it?
The quarterbacks, both of them in the fall.
Yeah, and they'll both be, I think, involved in the spring. Actually, John's really coming along a lot faster than initially they thought in the month of December. You can have a conversation with him, but he literally went through a really tough couple days. He was having a lot of pain, and just from that day forward has miraculously came back. So there was something that happened that's really triggered him to get back healthy in a short amount of time.
Could you just walk us through your process for looking for these coaches? I mean, how much of a list do you have for each position, and how much do you just see what's out there?
I remember I was flying down to the convention, and I had, for the offensive positions alone, between the O-line, the tight ends, and the quarterback coordinator and then the wide receiver position, I had over 75 names. More offensive line, probably more than I've ever seen legitimately come at me. There was a lot of interest, both NFL and college. I sat down and interviewed actually 12 offensive coordinator position guys that I was truly considering for that position, and actually Matt was my last interview, and actually the only guy I ever offered the job to. So I think I was happy that I waited a long time. He was playing in a late bowl game. Obviously, you guys know my feelings about Dave Doran, one of my best friends, and in the profession. So out of courtesy to him, we didn't make any contact with one another until after the bowl game, and then we were able to sit down late last week and visit a little bit, and ultimately come to where we are today.
What's your checklist for an offensive coordinator? What things were you looking for?
Well, for me, I've always wanted the quarterback to the quarterback coach to be the voice. I think that's worked the best in situations I've seen. I did interview a couple guys that were coaching other positions, and maybe that was why I didn't feel comfortable moving forward. I think the coordinator has got to be a guy that can stand in front of the room and tell you the plan. He's obviously got to, in my opinion, have the ability to teach not only his position but the offense, and make sure that everybody's on the same page. I really like the fact that Matt's been in a couple different systems and he's had success. He's had to blend into what was around him, make the most of the strengths of the players that are where he's at, and that's a very big thing with me. Also, just personality. You guys have been around me a long time. I don't like big egos. I don't like people that think they're bigger than the room, and I think Matt and Zach both bring a blend that will be a nice little fit here to Wisconsin.
You said you had 75 applications?
Yeah, well, I think it's hundreds of applications, yeah.
75 guys that were
There were legitimate guys that I researched and
Is that a lot?
not when you got 5 positions, I guess. That was you just start getting, somebody else will recommend somebody else. What was amazing to me, and I said this in the past, and it was double this year, was the amount of people that reached out to me that I would have never had on my radar that were at good jobs. It was kind of interesting to be in San Antonio, and you're at this coaches convention, and there's this guy reaching out to you, and he's talking to you on the phone, last night, and then you're walking down the hallway, and he's standing next to his head coach, and he acts like he doesn't know who you are, or that ignores that fact. So there's a little bit of that going on in San Antonio for sure.
How involved will these guys be in recruiting?
Well, it's such a small class. Matt will actually take off this weekend to go see a recruit. Zach's wife was here. She's actually 7 months pregnant, so he's got to handle at home a little bit quick during this transition. So I'll get him involved a little bit next week with their respective positions they're going to coach. But we've been able to kind of maintain status quo even with the departure of some of the other coaches.
Could you just articulate why it was so important to get someone to perpetuate what you're doing on offense?
Well, I think it goes back to Coach Alvarez. It goes back to why he had success. I think here at Wisconsin, there's a formula that you can recruit to, that you can bring in, you can develop. It's been very nice for me to see the development of our players and the roster, and to see the good players coming back next year. So we're a development program. I don't think that'll ever change. So we can recruit, I think, offensively good linemen because of what we've done with the tight end position. We'll always be able to have that. Obviously, we got good running backs in the program, and I really like the fact that one of the things I was looking for at the wide receiver position, because I think we got some good young players, and I think Abby can be special. I want to get a great teacher, someone that's going to be aggressive with the kids, really try to get the most out of them. So I think that's all part of what we need to do here at Wisconsin. I wasn't interested in running the spread. I wasn't interested in running no huddle. And both these guys have had experience in that, but they've also had the pro experience. So I think good coaches come from everywhere.
You mentioned quarterbacks too. What's the one thing you want to see with all the question marks you have at quarterbacks, not only with injury but in experience?
Absolutely. The spring's going to be difficult. Wherever Kurt and John are physically will kind of drive certain things we can do. But I'm very excited about about Stave and Joey Brennan. They got a new coach. He's going to bring certain things that will be different from what he's been hearing in the past, and being able to blend those things together and just really develop. Quarterback gets so much attention, obviously, because it's the position that makes everything go. But it's just like every other position in our field. We only have a certain amount of practice, a certain amount of developmental time, and we'll see where it goes.
Has this been the most stressful, maybe, off-season that you've been a part of?
I get it. I wouldn't say stressful. And I really, truly enjoy the process that we've just went through. Still not quite finished, but to me, when you have transition, it's an opportunity to improve. And that's not a slight against anybody that's just left. I have great coaches that just left. The reason they got coordinator titles and a lot more money is because they're good coaches. So my challenge is to bring in a group of coaches that continue to move forward here at Wisconsin. It's a real exciting time because of the building being built, because of the we're going for our 3rd consecutive Big Ten championship. That's what it is. That's unprecedented in the school history, and it's something that is an exciting challenge for all of us. It's definitely been busy. I've been, since my departure to the Rose Bowl, I've been in my house twice since December 25th, and I haven't been there yet today. I just landed at about 3:30, so definitely the most well-traveled, I know that.
Do you think these guys will bring new offensive wrinkles, though?
Well, absolutely. You hope they do. Anytime you bring in a new guy, they're going to bring in a new way of coaching, a new philosophy, bring a new personality to the room. But everybody's been somewhere where, hey, this has worked, this hasn't worked, whether it's even just a gadget. One thing I've become better at over the last 2 to 4 weeks is just when you interview so many coaches, they all have great ideas. I've stolen things from coaches that aren't going to come anywhere close to this program, but maybe it's not just a fundamental drill, but a practice emphasis, a way of doing things. I always ask every one of those, especially all those coordinators, how do you set up your week? How do you practice? How do you staff? Is there any unique thoughts that are unique to you that make you great? And you get a lot of great information. It's really a fun experience.
How do you draw that line between these guys bringing new ideas and keeping what you?
Well, I do think once Joe left. I really thought then when you're bringing 4 new coaches in, you don't put that notebook down on the table and say, run this. We know what we want. We've had a lot of conversations, Matt and I especially, about what we want moving forward. He's always had this in the back of his mind, a place where he'd want to come and coach because of the things we do here. So the verbiage might change, the terminology might change. You want obviously the production and emphasis to continue to move forward. I think next year, for instance, we're going to have different personnel. We don't have Brady Ewing. We don't have a fullback right now that's sitting ready to go, so that makes you more of a 12 team because we do have a group of really good tight ends. So I think that's the important thing. Whatever that notebook is next year, it'll be a culmination of what those coaches and the offensive staff put together.